So that's the stack today, and that's what we're eating. And James is having that because I had to clean out the freezer quite a bit so that I could make room for
pizzas and other things. Or maybe just the pizzas. So this might be freezer burn, but freezer burning just doesn't seem to bother me that much, right? Have I ever said to you, man, that tastes freezer burn? Maybe once. This doesn't seem to bother me.
We're each going to have a one of those sizes of pizzas because I went to Shoppers and they were on clearance for 97 cents each. So, I mean, honestly, I'm always thinking, gee, that's really a bit too small, having two pieces. So, having 4. And I don't know, I'm feeling down, so maybe that has something to do with why I decided that's it. We're going to each have a pizza. I don't know. But
anyway, we already had exercise today. Thing to, spoiler alert, the wonderful looking olives on here don't come.
Oh yeah, they don't come with that.
But the rest I came with it. And these are definitely better, at least looking, than the last ones from Superstore. Superstore is not good for the pizzas.
Yeah, but this is Superstore brand, James. So this is, yeah, like, just
That's
because
weird.
We didn't like the pizzas from Superstore years ago doesn't mean we don't like the pizzas from Superstore now.
Well, we had one recently that wasn't that good.
Yeah, you didn't like that one. But anyway, that one was regular price more expensive than this one. But this one's a wood fire vegetable or something, but it's still a President's Choice brand. So
there you go, folks.
And you're liking it.
I'm liking it quite good.
Okay.
Quite well.
So, Hysteria Season 1, top of the stack. And this would be top of many stacks. This is awesome. I really look forward to Season 2. I hope this goes on for a long time. So
were you saying that's top of many stacks for you?
Yeah.
Or for most people?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you the brief little, this is Bruce Campbell here. I didn't even know that was him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that right away, I mean, you have a show with Bruce Campbell, I'm going to love it.
He's about the best at doing
He's so awesome.
I think he's even better than Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he's so good. So, I mean, at a particular thing, right? You got to use him correctly, or he's wasted, right?
But use him more frequently, folks, in Hollywood.
Yeah, he should always have work if he wants it, right? Because he's so awesome. I love Bruce Campbell. Anyway, so this show is set in 1989, and I remember my ex had introduced me to Bruce Campbell, and it was in Evil Dead Army of Darkness. That's the Evil Dead. I think it's Evil Dead 3 is Army of Darkness. But that's when, like, the first couple Evil Dead movies, I seem to remember they were actually not supposed to be comedy. But the third one, they just decided, well, it really is. So it's, horror comedy sort of stuff. And it's awesome. Army of Darkness is awesome. So that's when I was first introduced to Bruce Campbell, was by my ex. And I was this show is set in 1989, and they get things fairly right. I don't think her hairstyle is really 89. I think it's more maybe 82 or something like that. But but maybe she's supposed to be a Christian lady. Maybe she'd be a little bit out of date with the
70s, really.
Yeah, so I don't know. So there's some things in here that I look at and go, I don't think that's quite right. There's the first episode. It's about a heavy metal sort of band that they're teenagers, they're 17 or whatever, and they're in high school and they have this heavy metal band, and they're kind of outcast kind of kids, and
skids kind of.
Sure. And then they decide, the one guy in the band, he realized, wait, um, this some one of the kids in high school is died, and it's been rumored that it's a satanic sacrificial killing or whatever, right? And so the one kid in the band, he's like, this could work for us marketing wise, right? And so he decides, that's it, we're going to market ourselves as a satanic cult band. And it works for them for a while, and things seem to be going really well. And then maybe not so good. But yeah, there's some things that, like the first episode, the one kid uses the term goth. Not in 1989. That was, you got to get this right. You got to get it right. Not in 1989. There was no goth then. So
maybe early 90s to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie.
Yeah, it started with the Marilyn Manson thing. So there's no goth back then. Nobody would have said goth. It didn't happen until later. They'd be people who are wearing black. They'd be considered Satanists, whether they identified with that or not. It was just the way it was. But in 1989. I mean, some people would say, maybe, like, I knew some people who referred to themselves as modern punk, and that wore the dark. But for goth, because that came later, so there's that. And there's another problem with this show, that the guy who died at the beginning, that everybody, it's a big rumor that it was a satanic sacrificial slaying, whatever. This guy, he's a jock, and he's, I don't know, was he a football player or something like that? He's a big star athlete anyway of this school, and he's asthmatic. Yeah.
Okay.
So that doesn't work. So the reason, anyway, I'm not going to comment on it further, because this is so worth watching, even though those things are so wrong. And like I said, some of the hairstyles and stuff, it's like, no, like the one, like, she's a bad girl. She's the chief of police, his granddaughter. And she has this hairstyle, and I was like, yeah, I had that hairstyle, but not then, not in 1989. It was a little bit later, so maybe a couple years later, right? So they're just a little bit off, because in 1989, my hair was big hair.
Up.
Yeah, but over my eye.
Yeah.
It was, and a lot of people were doing that, wearing the hair, at least over one eye. And some guys would say to me, how can you see? And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't wearing my glasses anyway. I couldn't, because I didn't want to wear glasses, because that would make. So I really couldn't see anyway, and I didn't want to, and I didn't want to be seen. So that was like this. The one guy in the band, he's like, I want to be seen, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really. But he's not a real Satanist or anything. It's just marketing. So maybe that's it. But I didn't want to be seen. Anyway, it's kind of a funny show, and I think a lot of people who, they felt lonely, they felt just alone. I think a lot of people in the late 1980s, they might have worn all black for that reason. I mean, I certainly felt very alone and just down. And when the mother of the boy in the band, I guess the guitar player or whatever in the band, when she's talking about, and I don't know if anybody ended up hearing her, what she was saying, right? But she was talking about how she was praying and praying, and she just to anybody who would listen. And I remember doing that myself. Because you just felt like there was just, because I was raised Christian, and so I'd pray, and there was no one there. I just felt so alone. And anyway, but yeah, this is a great show. Really funny. A lot of things are accurate. A lot of things aren't, but it's still it's a good time. Definitely worth watching. Top of the Stack. I was reminded of David Lynch in this, because there's one the song "In Heaven Everything Is Fine." You remember that one? It's from Eraserhead, right? Oh, it's wonderful. You have your good things and I have mine. Yeah. So it was I think she was, I don't know if it was the little lady in the cupboard or if she was in the radiator, I'm not sure, in Eraserhead, but she sang that, and she was just adorable. And so there's that song in there, so it reminds you of that, because a lot of people who were watching Bruce Campbell back around, the time when this was set, then they were also watching David Lynch, right? And so when you have that, so this is really aimed at a certain audience, me, and people like me, and it's great. So Silent Witness, season 14. This is the best Silent Witness season I've watched. It's certainly better than season 27, the most recent one that I've watched. So watch this one instead. So good. It's just excellent. And the Mary Tyler Moore Show, I really could only watch a few episodes because the discs, even though the later discs have a play all thing on the screen, but it's later. So first you have to select either the first episode or scroll down. I don't have a remote, so I can't select play all, so I could only play the first episode on the disc. So, but I was surprised. I really like the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It's a pretty good show for its type. Laverne and Shirley. I was surprised. I like this one okay. It's not nearly as good as Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I watched it occasionally when I was a kid, the original.
Yeah, but
I found it funny, but it's not something
funny.
that I would automatically.
No, I wouldn't either. But I was surprised that I liked it a bit. So
I think it was a spin-off, Happy Days.
Yeah,
they're talking about Fonz. Did the Fonzie turn up?
Yeah, he was in it.
That's good.
Yeah, strange but true. Now we get to things that are really not worth watching as we go down the stack. So I thought this would be decent. The actors are decent enough, and like you recognize one was from The Office and whatever. So I thought it'd be all right. And honestly, if I think about the story, it's a great idea for a story. So what happens in this is, I'm just going to give a spoiler alert. If I want to give away the whole story of these ones, I will, because they're not worth watching, frankly. So the story in this is a family is surprised by a woman from the past. So the woman and her son have a guest come over. This woman from the past comes over, and she's the eldest son, ex-girlfriend, and the eldest son has died 5 years ago. But this girlfriend is pregnant. She's like just about ready to pop. She's very pregnant, and she went to a psychic, and she firmly believes that this is the dead boy's child, because she explains, I have only had sex with this boy, this one person 5 years ago, no one else, and so it has to be his. And she thinks it's a miracle. She's very happy, right, that she's pregnant with this boy's baby. And of course, the mother of the boy who's died, she's not impressed at all, and she doesn't believe the girl, and she sends her out. But then she starts thinking about it, and she thinks, like, after her son died, her and her husband got a divorce, and her husband is a doctor who works at a fertility clinic. And so then she finds out that her husband has been keeping in touch with this girl, and he's been paying her rent and this and that. And so she's thinking, what did he do, right? And so she looks up online, and she finds out that you can harvest sperm from dead men. You have 24 hours, you're fine to harvest, and even 36 hours they've done it and been successful harvesting sperm extraction from dead people. You can do it from, they can do sperm extraction from live people too. So if you happen to be a quadriplegic or something, or you can do it apparently. So anyway, so then she's thinking, this might be real. This, my husband might have done something, the ex-husband, and and this might actually be, right? So she wants to find out more about it and all that. So, like I said, it's an interesting idea for a story. And this girl, when she was talking to them, she was telling them about how she's had some problems with blackouts, having blackouts and stuff, but she's feeling okay now and whatever, right? But so and first when you hear about the blackouts, you're thinking, okay, well, she's not, it's been 5 years, she's obviously not pregnant with the guy's baby. And blackouts, so something happened while she was blacked out, right? So that's you're thinking that. And then all of this other stuff happens, and you're thinking, well, that's interesting, right? But yeah. Anyway, there's just some things that really don't work in this. But like I said, I mean, I had a top of the stack thing. There were things that didn't work in that, and I was just like, it doesn't matter because it's that good, right? But in this, it mattered. So the story really wasn't told very well. I don't think it was directed very well. They could have done something really great with this, but they weren't able to. They didn't have the skills to do it. So at one point, they're at the woman and her ex-husband, they're at this farm looking for their only son left, right? Their other son is dead. They're looking for their only son, who's went to go talk to and help out this young lady from the past. And so they asked this farmer who looks after the girl and whatever, if he's seen the son. And the guy's like, no, haven't seen him, he hasn't been here. And then they notice, wait, one of his crutches is here, right? So he was obviously here, one of the crutches was here. And then they notice, they phone his phone, and his phone's ringing, and it's laying over there. So he's dropped his phone there, so he's obviously been there, right? And so then they don't phone the police. They decide to break in and go whatever into the farmer's house, and it's ridiculous. You phone the son. Oh, he's not. There's his phone. I'm phoning the police. Right away. That would be your thing. And then later on, the wife was like, phone the police, and he's like, I can't get a signal. It's like, okay, well, you just got one when you phoned your son's phone. Like, that doesn't work, right? So it's just, yeah, it just didn't work. So whatever. Unhinged. In French it says enragé, or whatever, however you would say that.
Enraged, yeah.
Enraged, which is a way better title for this because it's about road rage.
Yeah.
So why did you title it Unhinged? That's just the number one thing. You look at the case and you go, okay, yeah, that's wrong. It doesn't make sense.
Casting seems to make sense.
Yeah, he's great in. Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be much as stretch.
Do you really want to watch a show about somebody road raging for an hour and a half? Nobody would.
When you're driving to work, you get an hour, if you're in a big city, hour and a half going, an hour and a half back.
Well, not to this extent. This is something special. So, but anyway, it's you. While you're watching this, you're thinking, okay, well, am I supposed to feel for this woman because she's a jerk? Honestly, she's a jerk driver, and I don't feel for her.
There's a lot of them out there.
There's so many jerk drivers, and then you're like, am I supposed to feel for him though? Am I supposed to relate with him? Because you don't want to do that. You don't want to relate with him. He's crazy. So there's, and you see a woman putting on her mascara while she's driving, and you're like, she gets in an accident, and honestly, you feel like, yeah, really. So,
Yeah.
because you see so much of it, and you're like, yeah, it's crazy. The Strange Little Cat, this is a German film. Fortunately, it's only 72 minutes long.
It's a strange little film. I peeked
It
in every
is,
so occasionally.
yeah, but it's not worth watching. I mean, there's some interesting camera scenes and stuff. You know, like I like them zooming in and looking at the moth for a while, zooming in and looking at the cat and whatever. You know, I like that. But it's just you're watching a family, and basically you're watching a family, and it makes you feel like, boy, maybe I dodged a bullet by not having a family, because this family kind of stressful to be around, just even for 72 minutes. Like the young girl, anytime there's some noisy appliance on, she screams as loud as she can, and I guess people just think it's funny in the household or whatever that she does this, right? And this is repeatedly in the film. And there's people keep wanting to step on the cat, and I don't know why, just to be kind of cruel to the cat or something. It's kind of weird, and there's a little more slapping than I'm accustomed to seeing. So I don't know.
Of course, it's German. So.
Workaholics season 2 got bottom of the stack from me. This is, I don't know how I'm going to get through. I borrowed 7 seasons of this. I don't know how and why they made 7 seasons of this. There are actors.
7 seasons.
Yes. This is season 2. I started at season 2, and this is so bad. It's aggressive propagandist. Maybe age 13 to 15-year-old boys would watch this. That's the only target group, and they're really developmentally stunted, so that they're really more like 9-10. So, but that's aggressive propagandist for you, right? So I can't imagine any older men would want to watch it. So I think this is like the loser 13 to 15-year-olds boys watching these guys, and this is who you grow up to be. These loser 3 guys. And
they're supposed to be working in an office, you said. Or something.
They're not working. They don't work.
Well.
So it's called Workaholics, and they're alcoholics, but they do not work. So I don't know. There's a lot of jokes about their genitalia and stuff like that. And
there were a lot of Richard jokes, but there was a lot of what my dad would call maybe dirty language or something like that, and it was just all over the place.
Yeah.
No way it would have, I think, even made it in the theaters, really.
Yeah,
now it's on
but
TV.
it's just not good.
Put up by
I mean, there's the one guy. He kind of has the look of Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
So the curly hair and the mustache, you know, the pedophilia kind of mustache. That I don't know if anybody would want to sport that look. Like James was saying, it worked for Weird Al because it's memorable,
it's weird.
right? Like it, but anyway.
The side part just looked weird, even back then. When I first saw pictures of Charlie Manson, he had that side part and the long hair, and I go, ugh. Now, apparently it was a big thing in San Francisco in the late 60s, but generally it just looked really old-fashioned.
So you have 4 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about while
okay.
I get to eat my food.
Yeah, I don't know what Israel was doing. with Iran recently, yesterday maybe. And Canada was going kind of recommending caution. You know, there's when you're dealing with Iran, especially vis-a-vis Israel, there's no two sides of this fight. Iran has called for the basically the liquidation of Israel, and that would include really all the Jews. The thing to understand is, here's the Quran. It's a translation. I suspect it's pretty accurate. There's only one passage which you can't contest. Talking about the Jews, they are the worst of people. Not it's the worst religion. They're the worst of people. That's the Quran, folks. And believing Muslims believe that. Okay, that's sacred literature. People talk about biblical inerrancy. You can talk about it, Quranic inerrancy. There's no getting over it. That's what Muslims, like I'm talking about, mainstream Muslims, to what are called fundamentalists. There's fundamentalists and there's fundamentalist extremists. They're all extreme. They all believe that. Get that straight. You can go around, walking around, strutting around saying, I know better. No, you don't. You think you know better, but you don't. You're going around thinking that. Yeah? So the world can't afford to have Islam, any place that's Islamic, that has an Islamic fundamentalist government. This includes Turkey. Looks like Saudi Arabia, definitely Iran. They cannot have, Pakistan's just like one fundamentalist coup away from that. They can't have the bomb. They cannot have the bomb. Here's a quote I heard it after 2001, but it's been around for centuries. Okay, folks? Muslims have been saying this to their opponents, and unfortunately they've had way more opponents than the neighbors of where the religion first broke out in the Arabian Peninsula. And this applies to everyone around the world. It's not a Muslim. You agnostics and atheists understand you're hated more than anyone else. This includes idolaters, okay, by Muslims. They cannot stand you. They will say about Hindus, for example, well, I can put up with them because at least they worship one God. Sure, they worship others. They'd say that about idolaters, but they cannot stand Buddhists, and they can't stand you. Okay? So what they've been saying, and this is for centuries, we love death as much as you fear it. Huh? That's a threat. That's a threat to everyone in the world who's not a Muslim. It's a threat. It's convert or else, because we will die in order to force you to convert. Understand, that's just the way it is. You might not like it, but that's the way it is. So, that's why